I just spent the last 30 minutes going through cybersecurity career advice videos, and man, I am feeling really overwhelmed. And I have lost basically all hope on improving myself or doing really anything. My brain is just scattered into 500 directions. So, in this video, I'm going to go over some of the biggest lies cybersecurity career advice influencers tell you. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of some of these. You should definitely be aware of this. And it's probably why you've stayed stuck for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, just watching these cybersecurity career advice videos, feeling like you're making progress, but you're not really making any progress because people who work in cybersecurity don't watch cybersecurity career advice videos. So let's get started of some of the lies that I see. Now, the first lie is that one person's roadmap is the only roadmap, and then all of the other cybersecurity influencers are just horrible. The thing is, no one has all of the answers, and the word cybersecurity is so broad that anything you say on how to get a job in cybersecurity isn't really that valid because it's not specific. It's not specific to the job that you're wanting. It's also not specific to that person who's talking about that, right? So I've made plenty of these videos, so I know it's really hard to create a really how to get into cybersecurity job without knowing exactly what you're wanting to do in cybersecurity because cybersecurity in itself is an industry and not a job. While there are some universal things like you should know basics like networking, but even then, saying that you need to know networking for cybersecurity isn't exactly true because it's hard to say that if I don't know what role you're aiming for. Maybe you're an auditor for Linux or something like that. You really don't need networking skills to audit Linux. You need Linux skills. The second biggest lie, and I have been guilty of this, is the fact that there's some magic combination of experience, certifications, courses that you can go through, and people that you need to know in order to land a job without really doing any work, even though all of these things are a lot of work. You could have all of those things and still just be at the help desk. How do I know? Because that was me. I started my career in the United States military, working in IT as an IT specialist, 25 Bravo. And when I got out, I got a help desk job, which seems fine until you look at it deeper. I had military experience and a huge network of people. I had a bachelor's degree at that time in a science, so geographic information science. I had certifications. I got my Security Plus in 2014. And I had the experience. I had technical experience in the military. So I had everything. Yet I was still just working the help desk. Why? So the first reason, probably the main reason why, is I didn't have any guided mentorship. Now, I'm not talking about mentorships through videos because they're so broad and they're not specific to you. I'm talking about mentorship from someone doing something that you want to do specifically. And they have that specific skill set and that they're currently doing it or they've done it within maybe the last 3 years. That's the biggest thing. I never asked anyone for help, so I was just stuck. And I didn't understand the importance of paying someone to help me or even paying for courses taught by professionals who work in the field. Like those two things, if you can find that, are the most valuable things you can find. And I wouldn't have been stuck at a $50,000 job despite having everything, essentially. And I'd be much, much further along if I had just not been so stubborn. The next biggest lie that I see is that there's this one secret that you can do that will suddenly just land you a job really without much work. I see this often with CompTIA Security Plus and getting like government jobs. I've honestly rarely ever see people who don't have any experience or don't have a high level skill set or don't have a military background actually get sponsored for clearances. Now, you could look at the trend and you could see like healthcare is growing exponentially. And then like cybersecurity for healthcare is a huge gap in the market that nobody really ever talks about. You also probably have a hospital in your city or town that probably needs cybersecurity and you don't have to move across the country to a place where nobody wants to live, essentially, and leave all of your friends behind so you can work for the DoD. I don't think that's anybody's dream, to be honest. Another one is there are specific jobs that are easy to get into. There are entry-level cybersecurity jobs. One of them is being a SOC, and I firmly stand by a SOC is an entry-level job. An entry-level SOC analyst is just going to go through phishing emails and then decide if this is a positive or a negative, and then just mark it as that. They're just going to sort through those false positives of those emails. You can 100% learn that in like 2 weeks, right? Now that everyone knows about a SOC analyst, now people are touting that a GRC analyst is the new entry-level job. I don't really think GRC is an entry-level job. I could see cybersecurity awareness training if you can get hired at a very large company doing that, but large companies love degrees and experience. So if you don't have one of those, like the likelihood of you landing an entry-level GRC role from nothing basically is really low. Now, if you have a background in like auditing or a nurse or a technical background, then moving into GRC actually makes a lot of sense because you have those professional skills. If you're in the trades or something and you're trying to land a GRC job, the chances of that happening are very low. Now, the next biggest lie in cybersecurity career advice, which drives me nuts, is that you need to know software development. That's not true at all. I don't know software development, but yeah, I probably make more than most software developers. So there are two parts to the tech world. Number one, there's the infrastructure side, and these people do operations and maintenance. That's where a lot of security lives. And then the second part is the software development side. So they building the application. Now, software security is a huge field. And if you know Kubernetes, then you are forever going to have a job until, I guess, AI takes over it. But the other side, infrastructure, which is where I've spent most of my time. So think networking, firewalls, cloud infrastructure, and on-premise infrastructure. That is also security. So don't feel bad if you don't know software development. A lot of people push this like it's like this elite club of people who know developing, but also you don't need to know that. It actually might hinder you if you want to go work in, say, GRC, because GRC is all about risk and like the likelihood and compliance, which is basically what all software developers hate. The next thing that I see spouted is that your resume is the golden key, and then you just need to memorize these interview questions, and then this is really what you need to do. The thing is, my resume has spelling errors on it. In fact, the formatting was messed up and I forgot to put my last name on one of the pages. And you want to know something? I still got that job. I got a job offer for that job. And it's not because my resume had these secret words on it. I didn't even put it through ChatGPT, so like the punctuation was bad. It was just that I had this specific skill set that they needed for this job, and that was it. So that's why I got that job. It had nothing to do with how well I could write my resume. I also didn't lie. I just put my actual accomplishments on the resume. I didn't have the required certification for that specific job offer, yet I still got this offer. And it's because I just had the skill set. And then also I see all these like interview questions and like memorizing things like that. I would go insane if I had to sit there and memorize these answers to these questions. You're not getting hired to answer questions, right? That's the help desk, and also ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT to answer questions all the time at work. You're not getting hired for rote memorization. You're getting hired to solve problems. That's in its essence what you're getting hired for. And then making the hiring manager's life as easy as possible. And that's really the only goal. Be able to convey that you can solve problems and that you're not going to be a huge pain. Like those are the two things. If you can pass those two criteria, you're good. I don't memorize answers to interview questions. That's just too much. So I see people saying to lie on your resume. That's essentially like marketing you have a skill set that you don't. And then if you're found out that you don't have that skill set on the job, you just lose trust. You lose trust with your hiring manager and also your team. So, also with this job offer that I had gotten, I didn't lie about anything and I was just upfront. Like, I don't specifically have experience in that, but I do have experience in this and I know how to figure that out. The next biggest lie that I see is this is going to sound a little strange, but the fact that you can get a cybersecurity job. That's so vague, right? You can get a cybersecurity job, but doing what? It's like saying you have a medical field job. I don't know what that means. So, any advice saying cybersecurity is usually, and I know because I'm guilty of this, it's created to get views, to be honest. It's just created to get views. And then it just consumes all of your time. And then years are going to pass and you're just going to be stuck in this loop because you're so confused and have conflicting advice about cybersecurity or even what this is or what jobs are there that you're just going to stay still and you're not going to do anything and you're going to give up. And that's because after watching all of these videos, I felt like giving up. I have 10 years of experience. What I hope that you do is I hope that after watching this, you get very specific on what role that you're trying to break into in cybersecurity, and then go find someone that is doing that currently on LinkedIn. And basically, you can find anyone on LinkedIn. You can also sort by like previous experience. So maybe you're a nurse and you're looking for someone who now works within governance, risk, and compliance. I would go to LinkedIn, search for someone, some common job titles, and then reach out to those people. They 100% exist, and then figure out what they did and then do that. The next takeaway that I hope that you take away on this is while I don't really specifically like niching down, right? Like, I don't like narrowing myself down into something. It's going to make your life really easily if you get really good at one thing in the beginning. And then once you get really good at it, then you can become more of a generalist. And this doesn't mean like governance, risk, and compliance. That's not a skill. That's an entire vertical and industry. Not getting a job in cybersecurity, not getting skills in cloud. It's so broad, but really niching down to a specific thing. So for instance, maybe you want to become an Azure administrator at first. Maybe you should go and then get really good at Azure and then set up multiple projects around Azure. That way you become the obvious choice for any Azure job out there that is needed. The next thing that I want to talk about is figuring out your unfair advantage. And what this basically means is this is just something that you have that nobody else has. My unfair advantage is the fact that I was in the United States Army as an IT specialist. So I have a really large network. And then I know how to talk to hiring managers that were also like in the military, right? Because we have similar conditioning. This, however, for you, you might not have that. You may be like a nurse and you work in a hospital and you have a lot of medical knowledge. That makes you extremely valuable in like healthcare security because you know the ins and outs of that industry. Maybe you're a lawyer, so learning cybersecurity can help you go into cyber law, and then that can be your unfair advantage. So really looking into your background and finding what your unfair advantage is going to help you more than any cybersecurity career advice video. So those are just my thoughts. Now, if you have a background of IT and are wanting to become a GRC expert, I do have a free training below that you can check out. I just go over the opportunities within governance, risk, and compliance, a specific skill set that can actually help you, and then how you would pivot from being like a technical expert into something else. Let me know if you have any questions below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.